Well, welcome.
We're still at the airport.
We're still at the airport. Our plane is delayed. So we decided that we'd go ahead and do our next Think About It for you. So we want to talk to you about the whole armor of God. Ephesians 6, verse 11. Put on the whole armor of God. Notice he doesn't say put on some of the armor of God, but put on the whole armor of God. Let me talk to you about the pieces of weaponry. There was the helmet, which is called the helmet of salvation. The Roman soldier wore a breastplate. The Roman soldier wore a loin belt. He wore shoes which went all the way up to his knees, looked like boots made out of metal. I'll talk to you more about this. He carried a shield. He carried a sword. And he carried another piece of weaponry which doesn't seem to be listed in Ephesians chapter 6, but it has to be because the whole armor is discussed there. And that piece has to be there in order for all the weaponry to be there. And you're going to find out it's a secret piece of weaponry that is listed in Ephesians chapter 6. So when you put all that together, we're talking about a lot of weaponry. And this weaponry was very heavy. Heavy, heavy, heavy. Goliath wore hundreds of pounds of weaponry. In fact, it seems that if you add up all the weight that Goliath was carrying, Goliath was so big, so strong. Are you listening to that word strong? He could carry in excess of 700 pounds of equipment. 700 pounds. Now, in the average Roman soldier, this weaponry, depending on how big it could be, could weigh up to 125 pounds. Now, let me ask you a question. If today Denise and I said, hey, come here, and we loaded on you 125 pounds of weaponry, and then told you to run around the block, how do you think you'd do?
I couldn't do it.
You couldn't do it?
I couldn't do it.
I don't think I could do it either. Or if we put on you 125 pounds of weaponry and then told you to fight somebody, how would you do?
I would be having a hard time lifting my arm.
That's why verse 10 begins with power. In verse 10 he says, finally, my brethren,
Be
strong in the Lord. Before Paul ever gets to the issue of spiritual weaponry, he begins with the issue of power. Because the only way you can operate in the armor of God is if you have the power of God. My friends, don't even attempt to wage spiritual warfare if you're not filled with the Holy Spirit. You need the power of God simply to bear these arms. This is heavy-duty spiritual equipment. The power of God puts it on you, and the power of God gives you the strength to operate in this equipment. It's a lot of equipment. And when we come back, we're going to find out exactly why you need it. But if you don't have the baptism of the Holy Spirit, if you've never been filled with the Holy Spirit, this is another reason why you need to be filled with the Holy Spirit. So I think that's enough for our friends
to think
to think about today.